Well, good morning, Center for Spiritual Living, Greater Las Vegas, and Happy New Year. This is our first Sunday of 2022. And I don't know about you, but I am certainly ready for 2022 to get underway. This has been quite a challenging year for us in 2021 and, of course, 2020 before that. And so it's such an opportunity we have to connect again, once again as a community, to come together to remind ourselves of spiritual truth, to sit in this joyous celebration of all of the skills and talents and heart and soul that is brought to you today. I want to thank David for his beautiful music this morning. That interpretation of the prayer of St. Francis of Assisi is one of my favorites. I really love that. That was a beautiful way to start off our brand new year. I want to thank Justin for all of the work that he does as our music director, and Joe and his media team for all of the fabulous technology that is bringing you these services each week. I also want to give thanks to our practitioners today, Karen Dunphy for her beautiful meditation and invocation this morning, and for our practitioners, Clay T. White and Valerie Weiner, who are sitting high watch for us today. They are sitting in consciousness, holding us deep in their hearts and knowing the truth for the entire unfoldment of our service and each of our members here. So thank you all for your dedication, your heart, and your love that you bring to Centers for Spiritual Living, Greater Las Vegas. So, brand new year, brand new theme. We are starting off 2022 with the theme for Living Everyday Wonder. Living Everyday Wonder. It is going to be a deep exploration of different areas of our lives and how we can find the wonder in them, how we can find the joy, how we can find that divine creativity that is moving through us all of the time, operating in our experience in each of these different areas of our lives. So we have our 12 themes for the year here. These are going to be posted on our website. They'll be available for you throughout the time of 2022 here for you to refer back to. But we're going to start off with that theme for January of Living Everyday Wonder. And we're going to look at how this wonder permeates our life in all aspects here, just kind of an overarching theme of Living Everyday Wonder. And then we're going to move into different aspects of our life, our inner life, the way that we show up as creativity, the work that we do, our finances, our health, the community, our home, all of these different aspects of our life. We're going to look at how we can find the wonder, the joy, and the divine spark of inspiration that is moving through each one of those. So I'm so excited about our theme for this year. To go along with our theme, I've chosen some really phenomenal books. Many of these are recently published books. Many of them are from authors that you may be familiar with to accompany our study for each month. And so this is, I know it's kind of small on the screen there, but we have it also on the website, available on the website, and it'll be sent out in an e-blast too for you. And each month we're going to be doing a book study to accompany that. The book studies are going to be on Wednesday afternoons. More details are coming out in the e-blast and on the website. The links to the books will be available on the website. You can order them off of Amazon or any of the other online ordering services that you happen to use. Many of the books you'll be able to find in the bookstores because, as I said, they are new. They are coming out. They've just come out this year. I actually have one of them on there that won't be out until March, which I'm excited about that also. Just some really good, well-written ways of going through this exploration of living everyday wonder and finding that delight in it and moving through the things in our lives that kind of overshadow the delight that we might be experiencing in these different life structures. And so I hope you join me with that. I will be using the books as references during my talks. On Wednesday nights, we're going to be using the books and going through some of the spiritual practices provided within the books to help us clear away some of the stuff that we find challenging in our lives and move through those things to actually unearth that amazing wonder that's within us. And so I'm really excited about that. And so as I said, today is the first Sunday of the month. It is the first Sunday of the year, and we are starting this theme of Living Everyday Wonder. And so that's the talk title for my talk today, is actually Living Everyday Wonder. Here we are in an organization called Centers for Spiritual Living. Centers for Spiritual Living. We are one of the many affiliated centers with an organization that is in 32 different countries. We have over 500 affiliated organizations within Centers for Spiritual Living. And within that title, within that name of our organization, is the very key to our existence here as a community, as a center. We are here for spiritual living. We are here for spiritual living. That is what we are about. And what that means for us is that we are actually practicing the art of spiritual living in all aspects of our lives on a daily basis. We find opportunities to engage in activities that help us get a deeper connection with that universal consciousness, that divine presence, that loving creator, that infinite intelligence, whatever you want to call it. We have all kinds of activities that we do throughout the week, throughout the day, within our own practices, within our collective practices as a community, within the classes that we provide, within the talks that we give. All of the things in our center are geared around helping us to experience our life from a spiritual aspect more and more often. One of the other things that we do is we apply spiritual principles and practices to the everyday situations in our lives, to the everyday situations that we might find challenging, to the ones that we think are limiting us in some way. We have skills that we have developed throughout all of the different activities here that help us move through these challenges, through these situations in our lives by applying the principles that we know, by using these tried and true practices that are universal practices. They transcend all religions. And so it's a way that we can actually begin to change conditions in our lives through the use of these principles and practices. And we actually engage in the act of spiritual living on a daily basis. We are committed to our daily spiritual practices that help us start our day off right, start our day off with that attitude of being connected with that divine source, with that sense of gratitude for our life that we have that exists here, our sense of wonder and delight at what is unfolding in our lives. And so we are a center for spiritual living here. And so because of that, we can actually begin to experience living our lives through everyday wonder. If we go back to our principles and practices, I love what is called our declarations of principles. Sometimes it's called the what we believe statements because they all start with we believe. But one of the principles says, we believe that heaven is within us and that we experience it to the degree that we become conscious of it. We believe that heaven is within us and we experience it to the degree that we become conscious of it. These are one of our declarations of principles, one of our key statements of our spiritual beliefs. So, heaven is within us. So what do we think about heaven? Heaven to me is that ideal state of being. That state where, not that I don't experience challenges, but I can see the challenges from a different point of view and see the gift that is available to me in the challenges. As I become more conscious of this idea that heaven already resides within me, then I experience it to a greater degree each and every time. I more quickly get to the heaven aspect of it than spending time in the other than heaven aspect of it. So we can actually apply that principle and learn from that principle in a way that helps us see our life in a different way. The master teacher, Jesus, said it in the Bible, in the book of John. He writes that we should be in the world, but not of the world. We should be in the world, but not of the world. In other words, we exist in this world and we function very well in the world. But the world is not the driving force. The world is not what is controlling us. The world is not the place that we are living from. We are living from a source of spirit. We are living from the heaven that is within us. And it is the driving force of our lives. We are in the world, existing in the world, affected somewhat by the things around us to the degree that we understand that we are not the effect, that we are the heaven, that we are that place of spiritual consciousness that is deep within our being And when we live from that place, our experiences change. It doesn't mean that the things that are challenging might not be going around us, but the way that we react to them shifts and changes. One of my favorite teachers, Joel Goldsmith, writes it this way: we are no longer subject to the way the wind blows. We're no longer a pendulum who just sways based on the way the wind blows, because we're coming from a different place, a different point of understanding. We understand that, yes, challenges exist. And yes, we will face challenges. But the way that we react to them shifts. And when the way that we react to them shifts, our life opens up in beautiful ways. So we have this idea of living everyday wonder. There is something absolutely magnificent that is happening here within our being. I just think back to conception. Just think back to the odds of that one single piece of DNA from our fathers meeting up with that one single piece of DNA in our mothers, and coming together in a way that sticks and then develops and grows, and then all of these things that happen to us. The odds are astounding on how unlikely it is that you would turn out exactly the way that you've turned out. This cannot be anything but pure chance. This is a miracle. This is a miraculous event that has taken place. The odds of you becoming you has to be something more than just something based on the odds. That we have within us a divine spark of intelligence that is operating through us all the time, that has created what we call ourselves, what we call Laura here, what we call Joe, what we call ourselves is a divine emanation. It is a perfect creation. And the chances of it happening exactly that perfectly are astounding. In the book, our book of the month here for this month is What's in the Way is the Way. And in this book, Mary O'Malley says, something very extraordinary is happening here. And there are no ordinary moments in your life. Something extraordinary is happening here. Nothing is ordinary. From conception on, our lives are a miracle. Our lives are miraculous. And as we begin to embrace that idea, it begins to show up more and more in our lives. We begin to look for the miracles. We begin to expect the unexpected. We begin to see that whatever we thought was ordinary is actually a miracle. It is a spontaneous outpouring of spirit through our lives. Something extraordinary is happening here at every moment. Our founder, Ernest Holmes, says it this way. He says, that which today seems supernatural, after it is understood, would be found to be spontaneously natural. We think that this is something that is absolutely out of the ordinary. It's something that could never, ever happen. And yet we find that as we spend time with it and sit in that idea and wonder of it, it's actually our natural way of being. It is our natural way of unfolding. It is what is actually designed within us. It's going back to that heaven is within us, and we experience it to the degree that we become conscious of it. Everything that is perfect and right already exists within us. But it is actually an outpouring of spirit through us at all times. That this wonderful thing that we might think of as miraculous is actually the way it's supposed to be. It is the way that it is designed to be. It is the way that we should be experiencing life. We should be feeling the wonder every day. And if we're not, for some reason, whatever that reason is, it is an opportunity for us to go within and see what is unfolding here within us. So how do we go about feeling more and more of this wonder every day? And how do we go about keeping that wonder alive within us? How do we shift the things in our lives so that we are actually experiencing living everyday wonder? So that every day that we have is a miracle. Every day that we exist, we see the delight in that day. I was recently reading an article about a man named Stephen Robinson. And Stephen Robinson runs a YouTube channel that is called 52 Skills. And in 52 Skills, he does a video each week on a brand new skill that he's learned. There were so many things in his life that he wanted to experience, and he just kept waiting for that day, waiting for the right time, waiting for when he had time off from work, waiting for when he had enough money, waiting for all of these opportunities in his life, and he found that they were never coming. And he decided that he was spending too much time doing all the busy work that he had to do to get through the day and living for the future. Can anybody relate to that? So he decided he was going to make a list of 52 things that he wanted to learn, 52 skills that he wanted to learn. And he was going to take one of those skills each week and learn it. So these are skills that are ordinary, everyday skills. And then there are things that are just kind of extraordinary. For instance, he wanted to learn to speak a new language. So he spent a week learning the fundamentals of a different language. He wanted to learn how to chop wood. And so he spent a week working on chopping wood. Some of the things that I found that were funny, he wanted to learn how to catch a bass. I don't really have any desire to fish, but that was something he wanted to learn. So he went out and spent time with an expert learning how to catch a bass. He learned how to do Morse code. I'm not sure too many people use Morse code anymore, but that's what he wanted to learn. This is my favorite one. This is one that he was working on for the second year that he was doing it. He wanted to learn to teach his cat how to launch a rocket. And I watched the video for that. It was hysterical. He actually trained his cat to go up and push a button that launched a rocket. The cat had quite a reaction when the rocket launched, but it was quite an amusing thing. But I am just overly impressed with the initiative that this man took and the way that he is living his life, every single moment of his life, in absolute wonder and joy. I think it's something to emulate. I know in 2020, it was my 60th year, and I decided that I was going to make this a year of intentional living, that I was going to actually do things that I hadn't done. So I created a bucket list. Oftentimes we think of this bucket list as the things we're going to do before we die. And I decided these were the things I was going to do in 2020. And so I made since I was 60 years old, I made a list of 60 things that I was going to be doing. And of course, then March 2020 happened and the world kind of shut down. So I wasn't able to complete quite a few of the things on my list because they involved being around other people, and that wasn't possible. But I actually got through 27 things on my list. And so I was really pleased that I was able to discover and do and experience 27 things that I had never experienced before. And so each year since then, I've created a bucket list with whatever year that is. So the next year I had 61 items. This year, as I sat down to do my bucket list, I had 62 items on there. I'm hoping some of them actually carried over from 2020 because couldn't do them in 2020 because of the pandemic. I'm optimistic that I'll be able to do them in 2022 because I'm hoping that we are coming to a resolution with some of the pandemic issues that we've had to deal with. That's my prayer, that's my hope, and I'm optimistic that is going to happen in our lives. And so, that's one of the ways that we can actually begin to shift things, is to make this list of things that we want to do and actually go out and do them. What a surprise, to go out and do them, instead of just saying, okay, I'll do that when I retire. I'll do that when I have more money. I'll do that when I have vacation. I'll do, all of these different things that we do, we put off, and we wind up living our everyday life for our future life. And then the future life comes there, and for whatever reason, we're not able to do it. Maybe by the time we hit the retirement age, we feel like we're too old to do the things, although I don't think that's ever one of our decisions, but I can understand, or maybe I'm too whatever to do it. We put off and we postpone living what we really want to do in our present moment for some future unknown event. And so I think that's a chance that we have to change that. One of the things that I found most helpful is to go back to a way of evaluating where I am right here and right now, a way of looking at what my current life conditions are, and then that helps me see where I want to grow, where I want to change those particular life conditions. Sometimes I come across a life condition, I think, hey, that's working really well for me. I don't really see that it needs any changes. maybe just something that helps me maintain it is all that's necessary. So we've created a chart here, a little graph to help you organize yourself into looking at the different life structures. And it's based around the themes for the month. And so for this month, it is January, Living Everyday Wonder. So we're looking at our life overall. It's just an overall view of how our life is. The way the chart works is that you have from 1 being the lowest all the way to 10. And you mark in that section where you feel you are currently in each one of these life structures. I've created a little meditative contemplation for you to follow along. Both this chart and the meditative contemplation are posted on our website, and they were a link to them was in the e-blast that you received for this service this morning. So you'll be able to go in there, and if you want to have the guided meditation, just click on it. It's about 15 minutes. It's just me and some beautiful graphics to go along with it, just my voice and some graphics. You can just do that quietly on your own, listen to the contemplation, and mark where you are on the chart. If you want to do your own guided meditation, that's fine too. If you'd like to just sit down and contemplate each one of these areas and decide where you are. There's no right or wrong, and this isn't for anybody else's viewing. This is for you to know where you're at in your life. Now, what I found most beneficial is at the end of the year is to take this chart out. So save this chart somewhere, put it somewhere where you can keep it and not lose it throughout the year. And go back and then reevaluate each one of those areas of your life and see if you've had any growth. See if there's been any changes in your life. If what you have done throughout the year around the topics that we're talking about and the spiritual practices that we present, and see if you can get any changes in your life in those areas. It's always good to know where you're at, to have that baseline reading, and then that sets a place for you to see and track any future growth. And so it's a great way that you can begin to systematically and in a structured way begin to affect change in your life. And if this doesn't appeal to you, that's fine too. No, this isn't about saying that person's life should be this way or should be that way or anything else. This is all a personal decision for you. It's where you are, where you want to go, how you want to grow in life. And so it's just a great tool. I use this tool in many of the classes that I teach, where we take a baseline reading at the beginning of the class, and then after the 8 or 10 weeks of the class, we go back and reevaluate it and just see, is there anything in our life that's changed? One of the things that I like this for, and the reason I like it as a wheel here, as a circular chart, is that when one area is low, I kind of think of it like a tire on a car. You know, if you get a flat tire, and as the tire rolls, it goes clunk, 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 clunk. So when you get to that area that's really low or flat in your life, and you turn to it, you know that that's the part that's out of balance. Everything else could be nice and round and smooth and moving perfectly in your life, and you hit this area of your life that's not quite working right for you, and you get that feeling, you get that actual physical feeling of like, oh, something's wrong in this area, something needs to be shifted in this area. And so it's a great way to look at it that way. So usually what I do is when I do my chart, I connect the dots to see actually how circular it is, to see if there is a flat spot on that, a place where I need to put a little more attention to in my life to bring about some changes and in some of the challenges that I might be experiencing there. So it's a great opportunity for you to do that. And so I encourage you to take advantage of it. We'll leave it on the website for a while, and you'll be able to, like I said, download the PDF, print it out, and listen to the contemplation. If you don't have access to a printer, you can also just write out each one of these areas and then mark it on a piece of paper from 1 to 10 where you feel you are. Just write a number on the paper there, and that'll also help you, just to give you a place to work from for the end of the year. And we'll revisit this in December and see what kind of changes have happened in our lives. So it's an exciting journey that we're on, folks. And something truly extraordinary is happening right here and right now for each and every one of us. And so one of the things that we can do is we can actually affirm that through our spiritual mind treatment. We can affirm that we have this extraordinary life, that we are living this extraordinary life, and it is unfolding beautifully and easily and effortlessly. So right now we're going to go into our affirmative prayer, our spiritual mind treatment here. It's what we call it. It is a way of, it's actually based on science. We align ourselves with spirit. We unify that. We state the truth that we know. We give thanks for it, always having that attitude of gratitude expressing through us, and then we let it go. And the reason we let it go is because we know it's done. We've stated it already. We've given thanks, and there's nothing else left to be done. So I invite you to take a moment and just center yourself and turning within. I like to take a couple of deep breaths just to center myself. And closing my eyes helps me. If that works for you, great. And so right here and right now, I know that there is something alive. I know that this love, alive being that is within me is that power and that presence, that unconditional love, that perfect peace, that divine creativity and infinite intelligence. It is the thing that has brought forth everything into existence. From its very own essence, through its very own energy, this indwelling presence has created everything and has manifested this entire universe, each and every one of us, everything we see before us, everything we feel, everything that exists is all a unique and perfect emanation of that one. And I know that nothing exists outside of it. And therefore I know that I too am a part of that one. That it is the living, driving force of my very existence. And as I know this is true for me, I know this is true for everyone. That each one of us is that perfect and complete expression of the divine. I know that the divine is manifesting itself through us, in us, as us, in everything that we are and everything that we do. And so knowing this truth, I speak my word. I know that right here and right now, something extraordinary is happening. It is this thing called life. I know this life is in me. I know this life moves through me. I know this life is showing up as me in all that I am and all that I do. I know that each one of us is that perfect divine expression of it. And so I know that therefore this life is your life too. This life is that life of everyone. This life is that expression of the divine, and it is manifesting itself in unbelievably miraculous ways, constantly and consistently through each and every one of us. I know that practicing these spiritual truths and developing a deep spiritual practice allows us to be connected to that presence in a way that we become conscious of. I know that it is always there, ready to be tapped into it. And as we tap into it, it is unfolding more and more and more through us. And how good it is to know this, how good it is to feel it operating within me, how good it is to see it operating in the world around me. And so I release this word into that law, into that creative mind of that divine, amazing creator that always says yes, that knows no lack or limitation, that is the very essence of heaven within us. I let this go. I let it be. And so it is. Amen.